Welcome to Surviving Roots, the podcast where we navigate the messy, beautiful work of healing and growth. I'm your host, Cari, and this is your space to breathe, reflect, and find strength. Whether you're breaking free from old patterns, healing from loss, or rebuilding your story one small step at a time, you're in the right place. So take a deep breath, give yourself this time, and let's uncover the tools to move forward with courage. This podcast is for you. Today, we're joined by Cari, a dynamic entrepreneur and mentor with over 2 decades of success in digital marketing and e-commerce. Together with his wife, Valeria, they have built a global media platform that inspires millions daily. He's also the host of the Rise podcast, where he dives into the journeys of accomplished individuals and the creator of the Creator Method community, empowering creators and entrepreneurs to scale their brands and businesses. Beyond his professional achievements, Cari is a devoted husband and hands-on father to 3 sons. His journey is a testament to balancing ambition, family values, and a commitment to helping others thrive. Let's dive into this conversation with Cari. Cari, I'm so excited to be speaking with you today. We actually met a couple years ago. Our children used to go to the same school, and I remember it was like at a parents' meet and greet, and someone introduced you guys as like, oh, there are these amazing content creators. And I wasn't that really familiar with it. But as time went on, I just remember thinking, like, wow, what great parents. You guys are like always at every pickup and drop off and always like at all the performances and rehearsals. And I just really admired your parenting. And then one day I saw a friend share a post from Valeria, and I clicked on it and I thought, okay, these people are more than content creators, like over 2-something million followers. You're entrepreneurs, you're brand developers, you're so many things. And I just remember thinking, wow, look what they have built and what you've scaled. And you show up and you're such present parents. So I was really moved by that, especially because of everything I talk about on Surviving Roots. So I'm very happy to dig in and talk to you today.
I'm very happy to be here too. I'm a little nervous, to be honest with you. I mean, I get nervous. You and I were just talking about this before the cameras turned on. Like, I get nervous before either if I'm the host, any kind of content I create. So I get nervous. But today's topic, I've been kind of playing over in my head, like, what am I okay with talking about? What am I not okay with talking about? So this is going to be really interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited because there's so many, there's so much to you. I want to go a little deeper. I really want to go into how you are the way that you are and your upbringing. And I just want to dive in and get people really inspired and give them a little deeper peek behind the scenes.
Let's do it.
With Cari.
Let's do it.
So let's start with your inspiration. You have built a life that so many people admire. Your health. I mean, we watch you on social media, how you take care of yourself, your health, your beautiful wife, your successful businesses, your family. Is there anything missing in your life that you wish to learn, obtain, or achieve?
Not anymore. I don't think there's anything missing. The term missing wouldn't be accurate. First of all, thank you for that. I mean, I've never been described in such a positive light, so I'm kind of I'm a little embarrassed and a little flushed. So thank you. Nah, there's nothing missing. You know, this concept of missing, I got rid of it.
Okay.
It's funny because the other day, so it happens often, much less often now, where I get these thoughts in my head, like, I haven't accomplished this, I haven't accomplished that. I start doing the comparison thing.
Yeah.
Oh, my friend did this, and my friend has this much money, or he or she travels this much, or they have so much more than me. And so it would like seep in.
Yeah.
And the other day we were coming back, we went to a basketball game. We went to a Heat game. It was actually with the school, the school had arranged it. And we went to this Heat game, and we were leaving, and as we were leaving and we were walking, it started seeping into my head again, this, like, you know, because it comes at like weird times. Yeah. And then right in front of me, as we were walking, we were walking out of the stadium and, you know, towards our car, and I saw Valeria, and I saw she was holding Maxie's hand. Maxie's our 6-year-old. Yeah. And Jake and Ben were holding hands, and everybody was kind of skipping and happy. It was like right after this game, everybody had such a good time. And I looked at my family, like I literally looked at Valeria and our 3 boys, and then I thought to myself, I'm walking out of a basketball game in Miami. Yeah. Right? I live in Miami now. Yeah. And I was like, I have an amazing life. Yeah. And it's like, I had this like moment of, I'm getting like goosebumps talking about it. I had this moment of clarity. Yeah. And this was just like 2 weeks ago. Yeah. And it was just amazing. So I don't think anything's missing. I mean, I want more, but I'm it's the first time I'm saying it since I can remember. Like, I'm truly like happy and content. I really am. Yeah, like I can just go on and on about the positives.
That's beautiful.
Moving to this country.
Yeah.
I was talking to you about it before. It's just a whole different level of being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a famous quote that says that comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think that's really beautiful that, I think we can all get carried off in those moments in life. But when you have the awareness to actually look to see what you have around you, and you have your health, and you have your family, and you have love, I'd say you're pretty fulfilled. I feel like that's being rich in life.
Yeah. It was a real mind shift. It really was. But I'm just looking forward to the next. Like, to me, I'm happiest when there's progress.
Yeah.
To me, progress is what's always made me happy. It's kind of that thought of knowing that things will be even better.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of just like progress, knowledge, health, business. Yeah, just that thought of progress, it really keeps me going.
So I love that, and that's beautiful, and it's powerful. And let's talk about how you got there with this mindset, because I want to know if you can share more about your parents' journey and their experiences that shaped your upbringing.
Yeah, well, it's a common kind of story from where I'm from. So my parents, I'll go a little further back. I'll go back into like the early 1940s.
Okay.
And in the early 1940s, in 1942, Nazi Germany attacked Ukraine. And my mom was born in 38, so my mom was 4 at the time, my dad was 2. My mom was a little bit older than my dad. Okay. And they were both Jews living in Ukraine, and they went through a very traumatic experience. Now, neither of them were in the camps. Mm-hmm. Neither of them kind of did that, but it was just a very difficult life because it was super traumatic, even as children. And when they got back, they came to a place where to say that they weren't loved would be an understatement. Okay. So in post-World War II Ukraine, there was a lot of anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
Like, to the point where, again, I want to be careful what I say because I don't know whether it's historically accurate, but this is what I understood from my parents. Okay. My parents explained to me that the Soviet people blamed the Jews for the Holocaust. They blamed the Jews for the fact that Hitler and his army attacked and basically destroyed everything.
Okay.
And it wasn't just 6 million Jews who died. There were millions and millions of Soviet, non-Jewish people who died too. So, it was to a point where when my mom graduated high school, and she went to go to apply to university. Yeah. When we talk about, like, I know that there's a lot of talk about, like, let's say, for example, systematic racism in the United States, but like, this is truly systematic. Like, she would get a letter back from the university saying, "We're not taking you because you're Jewish."
Wow.
And this was this was in the 50s and 60s, right? So it's like, it was just the way of that was just the way of life. So they left Ukraine, both of them in their mid-30s. With 2 small kids. They didn't speak English. They had no money. They had no connections. And that was it. And we arrived to Canada. My mom, I remember once I got older, my mom would tell me about it. She said it was like landing on a different planet. Yeah. It was so different. Yeah. And then the other thing is, just like kind of historically, is Soviet Union at the time, this was 1976, it was something called the Iron Curtain. So very much like North Korea is now. Yeah. They weren't letting people in and out. Yeah. Not even for vacation. Yeah. It was a big deal if you got to leave the country and come back. But it was a time when they said, if you're Jewish, you can go. Okay. And at that time, Israel was taking everybody in. Because Israel has a thing. If you're Jewish, you can move to Israel. And so Israel was taking people in. And, we were in Rome, Italy. It was kind of like a neutral zone, a buffer zone, that immigrants from the Soviet Union going to Israel have time to fill out their paperwork. Okay. My dad didn't want to go to Israel because he didn't want me to serve in the army. Okay. Because he had served in the army, in the Ukrainian army, basically in the Soviet army, as a Jew. Yeah. And he's like, he had a very negative experience there. Yeah. They would beat him every day, right? Yeah. And so he just said, I don't want that for my kid. And he's like, we're not going to Israel. I don't want my son to serve in the army. I was 2. So he said, we're moving to Canada. He had heard of Canada. Okay. And so we came to Canada. They were cleaning offices. They were doing, And so I grew up in this environment of being the product of people who were oppressed their whole lives. They were hated by their country their whole lives. And they were scared. They was constantly scared. My dad, I grew up thinking we're going to be in the streets all the time because my dad would say we're screwed. So yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell my story.
And how did that unknowing, and then just having to, watch your parents, move to another country, turn all of this sort of like painful things into, really, they did their power. They look what they've done to set, you up in terms of potential. Having them watching all that, how do you think this, like, your cultural and religious identity influence, like, how you approach your life today and even business? Because a lot of times painful experiences, even if it's our parents that have experienced them and it's passed down to us, pain can either really push you down or it can push you forward. And you seem to have your upbringing, you seem to push yourself forward. You don't seem to be down.
Yeah, well,
so
it's a seesaw, right? It's a lot of times it pushes me down, and then other times it pushes me forward. I wish I could say that it's been this like consistent and linear thing where, my background, and there's just like, I come from a place of a lot of pain.
Yeah.
If we were to get into the details of, the things that would happen with my parents and with myself, like there was a lot of, I guess, generational trauma passed down.
Yeah.
And the immigration and everything, it was really tough. But I noticed in general a lot of other people in our situation, because there was like a group of us, like we weren't alone. There was a whole community of like former Soviet, Jewish people in Toronto, and a lot of them are successful. But kind of to answer your question, like, I don't know. It comes and goes. Sometimes it serves me, and sometimes it's painful. Kind of remembering my childhood and remembering the bad things that happened.
Yeah.
It's tough. I don't know. It's hard to answer. I think for me, if I have to really think about what motivated me to do as much as I can and to continue doing as much as I can, a lot of it is from that fear. Unfortunately, a lot of it is fear-based. A lot of it is kind of fear-based because, like, as I said, like growing up, my dad's whole thing was like, we're screwed. Like, we're not going to make enough money to pay the rent next month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot for a kid to carry and absorb, but
it's all I ever knew.
yeah.
I'm not saying it because I don't want people to feel sorry for me. I've actually never talked about this openly. And it's, to me, it was just so normal because not only in my family, but again, in that cohort of immigrants that I came from, it's just like so normal. And it's funny because like my buddies who are like, say, my age, who kind of grew up in the same neighborhood, who was outside with me riding on skateboards and stuff, like they're looking at this and they're even at first they're going to laugh and then they're going to be like, shit, you know what? Yeah, actually it may not be normal for the rest of the world to see kind of, how this happened. But I don't think this is uncommon. I think that in general, immigrants who come from kind of underprivileged or difficult situations, I think we all experience this. So I'm just from that cohort of people. I just may come off as being here, like as not being that way, as being on the other side, meaning being already multiple generations in America.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I'm on that side of it. And one thing I want to point out is like we came in as refugees. We were actually political refugees. That's the way that we were able to come in because that's how bad it was for Jewish people in the Soviet Union at the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that story because, and I don't think it's about like when people share their stories like that, I know we all probably like, well, I don't want people to feel sorry for me or I'm not trying to like paint this picture. But I think so many times we grow up and we don't realize that our fears and our insecurities actually can be our superpowers because they can push us forward. I know, we try to eliminate so many parts of ourselves, and which I think can be so exhausting. So I think sometimes, it can be healthy to have fear and insecurities because it allows us to be curious, like, where's this coming from and what can I do to change it? How can this make me better? So thanks for sharing that. I think that will connect to a lot of people listening, where you come from in your upbringing and how you've really transformed that. You mentioned generational trauma. Yeah. Do you have triggers? And if you do, how do you navigate that and stay on course with breaking any cycles? Because you are a parent now.
Yeah, triggers are just like, I don't know. you know, I have triggers, like if something goes wrong with the kids, like let's say something happens, or I don't know,
Yeah.
like I have a concern about the kids, or anything negative, something negative in business.
Yeah.
A lot of the times I'll default to believing that this is going to be a problem forever.
Okay.
Because that's how I was raised. I was
Yeah.
raised that everything is a problem. Everything was a continuous challenge, right?
Yeah.
In a negative way.
Yeah.
And so to me, when something happens and it's a negative thing, my default is that this is going to be a problem forever.
Okay.
And I always have to remind myself, right? And lately I've been getting much better at it, especially since we've become really grounded here. I had to remind myself that if I look back, every problem I've ever had, everything's okay.
Yeah.
But it feels like it's permanent, and
Yeah.
it feels like it's going to be forever. And that's my default kind of thought on it, which magnifies any problem when you
Yeah.
think it's going to be there forever.
Yeah.
But in 100% of the time, the problems have gone away. So I've actually gotten a lot better. I feel like I've had a real kind of turning point in my life, and like honestly, since we came here,
Yeah.
I just love this place so much. I was telling
That's
you off camera,
amazing.
I love this place so much
Yeah.
that I'm now able to kind of step into my own mind and say, okay, wait, stop. I'm no longer the observer of these negative thoughts. I'm actually someone who can take action in my own head and be like, stop.
Yeah.
Gary, you know that 100% of the time, over the millions of problems you've had, everything's okay.
Yeah.
Nothing's permanent.
Yeah.
So don't worry. It feels permanent, but it's not. And then I move on.
But see, that's amazing that your mindset, that's just a beautiful example of self-growth, because they say, you know, a trauma response to a lot of people is catastrophizing everything.
Yeah.
Like, you know, oh, this is bad, this is going to happen. Some people stay there, and then, you know, they sort of attract all of these things, and that's just how they think life is. Like, life is just happening to them and not
Yeah.
for them. So that's amazing. I'm happy because we're going to shift in here to your personal growth, because I feel like this is inspiring to so many people. What does success mean to you? And not in terms of material achievements, like in building your life every day.
I want to do what I love to do. Finding like this latest project, Creator Method,
Yeah.
which like it's been so fulfilling for me. Starting to work with Valeria back in 2017 and kind of helping her and mentoring her and coaching her, and just being there for her, being her partner in all aspects. When we talk about what happiness means to me, I'm pretty simple. I'm a pretty basic person.
Yeah.
So I don't need much. And for me, like, happiness is just a great relationship with my wife.
Yeah.
That, I think, is the foundation of everything.
Foundation.
And I just think in general, like, people always say, like, who you marry is the most important decision. I really believe that. That's very accurate.
That's beautiful.
No, but it's true.
It's true.
It's true. So for me, happiness is a good and beautiful relationship with my wife, which I'm very fortunate to have. She's the world to me. It's deep connection with my children. And, you know, as you know, we have 3 boys.
Yeah.
And I have varying levels of connection with them. Going back to that concern I have that any problem is permanent.
Yeah.
You know, out of the 3, there are some that I'm deeper connected to now. But then going back to the notion that not problems, but not all situations last forever. I know that the ones I don't have as deep of a connection with, I will.
Yeah.
So that calms me down. So yeah, it's my marriage, it's my children. Health is super important. I watched my parents, unfortunately, both deteriorate.
Yeah. Sorry.
Thank you. My mother passed away 6 months ago after, I don't know, about a decade of dealing with excruciating pain. She had something called stenosis.
Okay.
And yeah, unfortunately, she was on opioids to manage that condition.
Okay.
Like doctor-prescribed opioids. And she was either in one of 2 conditions. She was either like screaming in excruciating pain,
Yeah.
or she was high on opioids, unfortunately. So that was really difficult. So sorry, getting back to, you know, health. That's why health is super important. That's actually why I try to be as healthy as possible.
Yeah.
I wish I would have started like not in my 40s, but in my 20s. I'd be much further ahead, but I'm still kind of in a good place. It's important because I never want my children to have to to go through what I had to go through with my mom. It was very difficult for me
Yeah.
to see her deteriorate.
Yeah.
I just want to be as healthy as possible. So again, just getting back to it, my marriage, relationship with my kids, their development, my health, their health, Valeria's health. It's just simple stuff.
Yeah.
And then relationships. Relationships make me super happy.
Yeah.
Like super happy. And being in Miami, I just can't stop talking enough about this place. I love this place so much. And one of the reasons is that I can't speak for everyone when it comes to developing relationships, like outside of the kind of the family unit. But for us, because of our social media footprint, I feel like we are so blessed to have this like ongoing, just beautiful procession of amazing human beings that because of our social media, they learn of us.
Yeah.
Because of their consumption of our social media, they now learn about us. And so when we meet, I just feel that, first of all, people find us, which is just beautiful. People reach out and, unfortunately we can't meet with everyone, but we kind of do our best to spend time with people. And the relationships that have formed from the fact that when we get together with people because of this technology, like their guards are down, they already know us.
Yeah.
So like half of the battle's already taken care of. So those are the things that make me happy. That's it.
I mean, they're all important things, and that's why you have a solid foundation. And honestly, if we don't have our health, then what do we have? So you're being a great example to your kids because they're learning how to take care of themselves at an early age.
Can I tell you something I'm proud of?
Yes.
So the one kid who's like more open to my like craziness is Benjamin, our middle son, our 10-year-old. And so he will sometimes come with me to the gym at like 7 a.m. on a Saturday. Yeah.
Okay.
Today I went to the gym. I was at the gym at 5 a.m. And at 4:30 I went into his room just to give him a kiss. And when I saw him when I got back, I go, just so you know, I was in your room and I gave you a kiss before I went to the gym. He goes, you should have woken me up and I would have gone with you.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Okay, I got another story. Can I tell you another?
Yes,
It's
please.
a really cute story.
Yes.
About 2.5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, when we just arrived, we were living in a different house than we're living in now, and I was joking around with Ben, and I said, "Hey, you want to go to the gym with me tomorrow? I'm going to be there for 6 a.m. So leave the house at 5:30." He's like, "Yeah, Papa, we're going to go." I said, "Okay." And I woke up in the morning. I didn't give it much thought. I said it in passing, and I didn't think that he would take it seriously because, like, what child wakes up at 5:30 in the morning and goes to the gym with their dad? And I get in my car, and I have a convertible, and I put my roof down, and I started driving away. And I heard what at first I thought was like a figment of my imagination, and I heard "Papa," and I said, "Nah, it can't be. I'm imagining it." I kept driving, and I heard "Papa." I stopped the car. I turn around, because the car's loud too, right?
Yeah.
Like I turn around and Ben is in his pajamas, barefoot, running down the street after me in tears. I'm like, I stopped the car, I run out of the car.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, Ben, what happened? What happened? He goes, you said we're going to the gym. What are you doing? Why are you leaving me?
Oh my gosh.
I said, oh my God, Ben, I'm so sorry. I didn't think you were serious. He couldn't stop crying. I go get changed. We're going to the gym. And he went in the house. We got changed and we went to the gym.
Oh my God, that's so sweet.
So sweet.
It's also funny because as parents, you're so used to hearing your kids, Mom, Dad, Papa, Mama. And so even when they're not around or saying it, sometimes I still think my kids are calling me into the bathroom or somewhere. So
absolutely.
Oh my God, that is so
absolutely.
sweet.
And one time I walked from our house to this like restaurant in Miami, and it's like almost a 2-hour walk.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, like, come with me for a walk. And half an hour into it, he goes, how long is this walk? Anyways, he toughed it out. And he went the whole way. So it was great.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I have to say, just going back to the Creator Method community, I recently joined a couple months ago, and it has been fundamental in my growth as a content creator and what I'm trying to do with my goals. Your event was recently in the community in Miami, and two of your kids were there. And it was so amazing just from a parent's point of view, a perspective, to see how proud your children are. I mean, they stood up in a room full of a bunch of people they didn't know, and just like, even in the little moments when no one was speaking, just like smiling and looking at you guys with such,
amazing,
proudness and admiration. It was so beautiful. Like,
thank you.
May all kids be proud of their parents like that.
I just want to say, when they spoke, I didn't put them on the spot. Before the event, they both requested to speak.
Yeah.
So it's not
I
like...
could see that.
Yeah,
No, I
requested
could
it.
see that.
Yeah. It's, I don't have like this notion that they have to do, or like this family business.
Yeah.
I think they'd be good at it. I had a YouTube channel for them years ago, and we had to stop it because we were moving to Miami, and we'll probably start it up again. But yeah, I really believe, like, the great thing about this this business and this career as a content creator, so much of it is done kind of from home on the fly at all times, and so having them see that, I think, is just such a great experience for them. Even if they don't go into it, I have no expectations of them to go into this. They should do whatever makes them happy. But I just think it's just so amazing that with society the way it is, specifically with content creation, as it's now such a mainstream kind of a career and activity, and it seeps into all facets of society. For our kids to be witnessing this, it's amazing. It's really rewarding.
It's amazing, and they're learning from some of the best. I do want to ask you something about social media, because social media and kids is such a concern with parents right now, because we hear all of this like data and research with social media and minors. As content creators, how do you navigate parenting your kids in social media, and at what age will you allow your kids to be on social media?
I don't know. So at what age will we allow them? I don't know, but I don't want to put the entire like knowledge of the world in their heads. In their hands. Yeah. Especially uncontrolled. They're very limited as to what they can consume. They're not on Instagram. They're not on TikTok. They get access to YouTube, but it's very controlled. Yeah.
Hey, Ninja Kids has saved me for like a million times. I want to have a meal without being interrupted for 20 minutes. I'm like, hey, let's turn on Ninja Kids.
But you have to be careful with that.
Yeah, you have to be careful.
That's a whole other topic. Yeah. Because I don't agree with a lot of the people who are creating content for children. And I'm at odds with those people, but I'm also at odds with the platform for allowing what they're allowing. When it comes to children consuming content, I think that what's going on is very wrong. I feel it's getting better, but the platforms, I believe the platforms have much more responsibility of what they're allowing. I don't think is a good thing, but that's a whole other conversation. But in terms of like our kids and social media, I think your question is pertaining to like they're appearing in the social media. Is that more of your concern?
No, just like how do you talk to them about it? So like about just navigating parenting, like if they're wanting to watch you on social media or watch social media, how do you build a successful business and brand through social media, but at the same time parent them and telling them, it's not maybe right for them right now. Like it's healthy for you, but not healthy for them.
Yeah, when you say healthy for them, I mean, they're in the content, so they actually perform. I'm actually going after this to a photo shoot with them of like ugly sweater photo shoot for the holidays. So they're in the content. They have been. They understand their contribution. They fully understand how we make money. They know what a brand partnership is. They know what a sponsor is. They'll ask the question, like if they'll see me drinking something and filming it, they'll go, is that a sponsor? Yeah. What's the terms of that? Jake will ask me, what are the terms of those deals? Like how much should they pay us? Us. How much do they pay us? So
I love it.
He's in it.
Yeah, he's in it.
No, he's in it, and he wants to be in it, and I support him with that. Look, I'm a fan, and I say this to Valeria and actually to our team often. I'm a fan of reality. Yeah. I'm all about reality and what's actually going on in the world versus my feelings about something, and versus what I want it to be. Okay. And the reality is that this technology has put humanity. It's changed humanity. It's put us in a place where we are communicating at such scale and efficiency that I feel like we are one collective brain at this point, where like each human being is like the equivalent of a brain cell in one mind. Privacy, I believe, is still intact. The reason I believe privacy is intact is because with these platforms, we have edit. We are able to control what goes out. As an example, with our children, the decision that we make is on a per piece of content basis. If they appear in a piece of content, Valeria and I will look at that piece of content and ask ourselves the question, would this embarrass them as adults? Yeah. When they're going to be adults, so I'll give you an example. We were years ago when they were really small. Jake and Ben were really small. It was before Max kind of made it on the scene. They were in the bathtub, okay? And one of them farted. I'm not going to say which one because I don't want to embarrass them. But one of them farted. And kids often fart. It's like a normal thing. Kids fart all the time.
When do they not?
When do they not, right. And kids fart all the time. And so one of them farted, and it was just like this completely just natural, organic moment, super candid.
Yeah.
And everybody, like me and Valeria, and everybody started laughing, and it was just funny.
Yeah.
And you could hear the fart, right?
Yeah.
And the thing, because it was in the water too, it was hilarious. So
I did not know where our talk would go today, but this is like,
Yeah.
if I was nervous, I'm not any longer.
Yeah, don't be nervous. Don't be
Let's
nervous
talk about
with
it
me.
all.
Yeah. And so my point is like that moment would have been so cute to
Yeah.
put into the vlog or whatever. But I didn't. And not because like for any reason, because when the child is an adult, like if there was a video of me circulating somewhere as a little kid, I don't know, I'd probably be embarrassed about it. So I just didn't include it.
Yeah.
Even though it was like it's totally innocent,
Yeah.
right? But I didn't include it. And so that's kind of the filter that we use.
Okay, that's a great example.
Yeah. Valeria actually made a comment recently. She's like, I don't know how I feel about the fact that our youngest, like the birth is in a vlog with millions of views on the internet. I told her I think it's okay. I told her if you want to take it down, we can, but I think it's actually beautiful.
It's beautiful.
It's one of my kind of cherished core memories. And,
Yeah.
and it was documented with such class.
Yeah.
Right. So.
And honestly, I feel like if more content creators shared beautiful life moments that were inspiring,
Sure.
Rather than like honestly a lot of the negativity or the trash that just fills the world, I don't know. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah,
It's a
no, I think so
beautiful
too.
moment to share.
Look, I think because we have edit, we have the ability to choose what goes out there. And so for me, like you've probably seen some of Valeria's content, some of mine.
Yes.
Valeria's content where I appear in it, and it may seem that we're very public. I still feel like a private person. We don't disclose things we don't want to disclose. Like,
Right.
I still feel private.
Yeah.
Like the story I'm telling you today about my parents, like I'm okay with people knowing that, so I don't feel like my privacy has been violated.
Right.
So that's
You're
kind of my
sharing
take
it on your terms and
Yeah.
and in your way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing all of this. I would like to get back a little bit to your self-growth because I think that's so inspiring for people and your mindset. What's one lesson life has taught you that you wished more people would understand?
To think about the long game.
Okay.
I mean, again, just like going back to this fear that I had that we were going to be broke all the time, that resulted in a lot of like short-term thinking in terms of like my business models were like, how do I make money now? Rather than how do I build value in order to make money in the future.
Okay.
But that's just one aspect of it. The other aspect is fitness, right? So
Yeah.
when I was younger, if I would work out and I didn't see immediate results, I quit. So that's why, like, even with Creator Method, I often talk about long-term, kind of a long-term investment of effort over really long periods of time before you get something. So that to me, I think, is the main shift for me is I've started thinking far more long-term.
Yeah.
And I've come to the realization that real, true value, sustainable value, something that could really, you can reap the rewards of well into the future, it takes time to build. An overnight success, someone once said, an overnight success takes 10 years. So I just far more believe in that now.
Yeah.
There are exceptions. There are people, let's say, again, in content creation that like blow up. Like I keep mentioning this as an example, like the Haktua girl. She's just a prime example of it,
Yeah.
right? That's just rare. And I also don't know how sustainable that is. Like, I don't know people like that who have these viral moments who like blow up overnight. I don't know how long it's going to last. And it's the same thing with business. I just believe in long term. Like I had a daily deal company that competed with Groupon in 2012. And in the course of a year, that business, I raised over $30 million, it was $32 million on a $100 million valuation after being in business for 1 year. And so as soon as that went up, it also went down. And so these lessons just that kind of accumulated have taught me really to be more of a long-term thinker and to be patient.
Yeah. I agree with that, and thank you for sharing. That's one thing I can say I've taken away from just joining the Creator Method community, even the past, I think it's not even been 3 months yet, is to be patient, to be consistent and focus on the long-term goal, like what my long-term goal is. And that's really helped me sort of alleviate the pressure from like outside sources that I'm feeling with deadlines and deals, is to just take a deep breath, wake up, be consistent, show up, and think of the long game.
The other, so yeah, you're absolutely right. The other component to that is to stay consistent during periods of either like when the data's flat or declining.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like even at Valeria's scale, we have periods of time where it's flat.
Yeah.
And, and we've gone through it so many times, and it's just like, just keep going. You just got to keep going, keep iterating, pivoting if we need to, and keep going. that's back to the whole concept of long term is you have to add to building long term, that you have to keep going during times of decline, and just things being flat.
It reminds me of that, what is that quote where it says a winner is just a loser that tried one more time.
Yeah,
so I just feel like
true.
you just got to keep going.
It's true.
Yeah, I love that. Would you share a mistake that you've made and what you've learned from? And what you learned from it?
So many. A mistake and what I've learned from it. I mean, personally, I haven't talked about this ever.
Yay!
Yeah,
I really wanted to show another side, like some more stuff from Gary.
Personally, I had a girlfriend long before I met my wife. I was in my.
Please say that because I don't want Valeria to hate me.
No, Valeria. Yeah, there's no problems.
No,
we don't have to worry about that.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I had a girlfriend when I was like in my mid-20s. She was older than me. She was 30 years old, and she had a kid. She had like an 11-year-old kid. And, after about maybe a year of being together, I knew it wasn't going to work out. I knew she wasn't for me. And it wasn't because she was older than me, and it wasn't because she had a kid. Like at that time, like it was a real relationship. Like we were really together, and even though after that year, I knew I needed to move on.
Yeah.
And I stayed with her for another year after that.
Okay.
And because I couldn't bring myself to hurt her feelings, and because of that, I made the situation worse.
Yeah.
For her and for me. Because then when I did have to stop it, it was even worse than it would have been had I have done it a year before. And I wasted another year of her life. She was older than me with a child, and that was inconsiderate of me. And it was because I was weak that I actually did her a disservice. Because I truly had a great relationship with her, and I didn't want bad things for her. But because I didn't have the strength to do what I needed to do as a man, as a person in general. So that's a mistake that I made that I've gotten better at.
Yeah.
After that, when I realized that error, I would cut off relationships far more abruptly.
Okay.
And even though that they were mad at me, I knew it was the right thing to do for both of us. Okay. And actually, even recently, and just kind of going on that, like even in business, like there are people who, wanted to be business partners with me. So we would have conversations, and then ultimately I didn't want to do it. And I would keep entertaining it, even though I knew I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to hurt their feelings. And ultimately they just became really mad at me. And I understand why, because I should have I should have been more forthright about it. And it wasn't because I was trying to deceive them, it's because I felt bad. But that's a mistake that I made throughout my life. And I feel I've turned that corner. Even again, like a lot of it is recent. I was just talking to, one of our team members, one of our senior team members in one of our companies. And, I said to him, being honest, like I can be pretty rough sometimes, right? And again, I would never be that way like 10, 15 years ago, or even 3 years ago. He's like, yeah. And I said, does it hurt your feelings sometimes? He said, yeah, sometimes it does. It hurts yeah, sometimes I get hurt by it. And I said to him, do you know what's more important to me than your feelings? He's like, that the company succeeds. I said, that's one thing. I said, but specifically when it comes to you, what's more important to me than your feelings is your success at this company. Because if we do what I believe we're going to do, and it's specifically with Creator Method, I said then, we are going to be at a scale where we are all going to be reaping the benefits of, being like in this, like starting this and bringing it to fruition. And you will be participating in that. And it's more important for me to do right by the future version of you than to salvage your feelings, because I need to have hard conversations with you. Wow. So I just think I've learned to have hard conversations earlier.
I want to talk about Creator Method, but I want to go back for 1 second.
You don't have to, by the way.
I want to.
I never like plugging it.
Isn't a plug, because this is more so. This is the thing. Well, first I want to say this before I forget.
Please.
Is that I don't think when you were talking about like one of your mistakes and what you learned from it, and you said, you were just, it was a weakness. I don't know if that's all of it, because the thing is like I can relate to a lot of like, it's not wanting to tell people the truth, but like not wanting to hurt people's feelings or not want something to succeed. I think that could be some of a trauma response from growing up because, you see your parents struggling, you see them working hard, and you just don't want anything to fail. And it could be a friendship, it could be a relationship. And also, some trauma responses with people who grew up with parents who had hard upbringings is people pleasing. And it's not so much of an insecurity, it's just that you just don't want to see people hurt or struggling, and you don't want to be the person to do that.
You're absolutely right.
So I don't think you were weak. It's just, I think with age, you just came to realize the importance of just being more direct and upfront and not wasting people's time and wanting the best for them.
You're right. But I mean, to me, it was really bad. Like, it was bad to the point when I first started making a little bit of money. One of the first things I did was I got myself some nice clothes. That was important to me. So I went, not that I have nice clothes now. Now I'm actually much more chilled than I used to be back then. I had to get the suits and everything. I was like in my late 20s, I started making a little bit of money. And I remember I went to, there's this luxury men's store called Harry Rosen in Canada, and they have like a chain of them, like they're all over the country. Okay. And I went, and so the first salesperson I went to buy the clothes from, he was at like a certain location, and I bought some suits from him and everything. And then, I don't know, a month later, I had been walking by one of the other locations, and I went in and I bought something else for myself. I couldn't step foot, this is ridiculous, I couldn't step foot in that first location because I didn't want to look that man in the eye, because I felt like I betrayed him because I bought clothes from a different location from another salesperson at the same company, and I didn't go back to him because he had built a rapport with me. Felt like it gave me anxiety even walking by the store that he wouldn't catch my eye because I thought maybe he saw on the record somewhere my name on a receipt. Like, that's how crazy I was.
No, but I think it just stems from like your upbringing. And honestly, this really goes into what I want to talk about with Creator Method, because this isn't a plug. This is, you and Valeria could easily just absorb this whole spotlight that you've chosen to create, but you are super passionate about helping others succeed. And when I say that, I mean, people could maybe come across a lot of different communities or content creating opportunities. And it's just like, you pay somebody to do something, to teach you something, but that's not what Creator Method is. You truly have built a community. It almost feels sort of like a family. Like, I've leaned into more people I've met through your community than I have in my own family members. Like, even with the things like imposter syndrome and feeling insecure. So you've really built something special. I just want people to know, and I sort of want to know, why is it so important for you to help others win at their dreams?
Because I want to succeed.
Yeah.
Because I want to succeed. Because one of the other things that I've realized, I'm selfish. I want to succeed. Myself, my family, I want to succeed. But I understand how I need to succeed.
Yeah.
And so what I've realized is that in order to be successful, and again, not just monetarily, but in all aspects of life, you have to become a person of value. And I heard that, and I really believe that.
Yeah.
And it's the funny thing is when I hear quotes like that, become a person of value, like I heard that quote somewhere, like I don't even remember from who. And I may have heard it and maybe it planted a seed, but until I actually started seeing the benefits, being a person of value versus being a person who's strictly like directly trying to extract value for myself in the form of whatever it is, money, whatever. I've just found that, and again, you add the delayed gratification and the long-term thinking to it. I believe that if I can be of value to this community that we're creating and the people that we're bringing together, then I believe that we will be then successful as a result.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, what we're going to do is we're not only going to be successful ourselves, but we'll have created a ton of successful people all over the world.
Yeah.
So to me, that's my kind of broader vision, is for myself to become successful by providing value for myself and Valeria, for us to be successful by providing value to people, the knowledge that we've acquired. Because I know that I think it's 8 or 9 years now that we've been doing this, we've been iterating on this and we've lost so much money doing this. And when I say lost so much money, I mean, it's money that we could have like just taken and done other stuff with. We could have
traveled the world, or I don't know.
Well, I was thinking more like invest into other businesses or real estate or whatever. But we could have done it, and instead we left it in the business and we hired consultants to show us how to do podcasting. And then we initially, if I told you like our cost per podcast episode when we first started versus now, it's 10% of what we were spending before. 10%. We were spending 10 times more. And that trial and error had to happen for us to get to the point where we are. So that's the kind of value that I want to continue to just taking what we've learned and what we've figured out. But a lot of it, I think a large portion of it is the kind of the psychological aspect, because I've been there when Valeria's kind of hit walls and, you know, broken down and gotten back up, and we've worked through that together.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I think that your desire to create this community and really help others goes back to your foundation. I mean, health, family, you know, marriage. So you're a pretty good guy.
Well, I don't know about that. I've got my negatives. We all do. Yeah, look, with Creator Method, again, it's one of the things I actually said at the event on Saturday that you were at, is I truly believe like anyone can do this. Yeah. Which is strange, right? I think like, you know, and as I was mentioning, I'll kind of reiterate what I was saying before at the event. It's like we as a species are meant to communicate. We're not meant to like exist in a silo. And so because we have this like built-in communication tools and devices, like as soon as we're born, you know, we're crying to communicate that we're cold or hungry, or we just went through the trauma of being born. You know, we all have it. So it's really just, number one, believing that you have what it takes to do it, and with the assumption that we all do. And number two is that continuous execution and the long-term exection and executing through downtime.
You've got me believing, so.
But it's true.
And it's
well, the funny thing with you is that after you started, you went in and your audience has grown dramatically. Yeah,
and I've actually grown. You know, that's the thing is that. For what my goals are, I've not only grown my audience, but I'm just growing as a person because I'm becoming more confident.
Yes.
And, you know, I'm letting things go more and saying things out loud. And it's actually going to help me with my writing of the book. I'm transforming. Like, that's the thing is I'm healing and transforming in real time every time I show up with my monologues and things like that.
It's you know what?
It's so much more than just creating content.
You've hit the nail on the head, you know, like what I've witnessed with Valeria's development, it's just, I can't even begin to describe it to you. She was 26 years old when she started, and now she's 34. And listen, she would have developed and evolved as a human being. Like, I feel like those years, people change a lot. They're very transformative years. But she's just awakened in such a way through this work. And so I do believe that this work isn't just about the career, the financial gain, the fame, if you want to call it fame. There's just, it's such a path to self-improvement that it's unbelievable. And, you know, the other thing I want to say about like just content creation, again, I don't want to dwell on it too much, but what I've realized is another massive benefit is the experiences, because you can be super wealthy, but we've had access and continue to have access to experience that like I don't think money can buy. Just we get to meet super cool people and you know, and we get to, like, we were at a private Beyonce concert. Like, who the hell goes to a private Beyonce concert? Like, that was a highlight. That doesn't happen, you know? Yeah. And it's because Valeria has audience and she was chosen, you know, to go to that. So, yeah, this is crazy stuff. It's just crazy. It's incredible. I love it. I wish it for everyone.
I love that. I love that. Well, my final question. You've accomplished so much, but looking at where you are now, what do you hope people remember you for? And not as an entrepreneur, but as a person?
I don't really care. I don't know. I just don't care.
I love that answer.
Yeah, I don't care what people remember me for. Yeah. Like, I'm so focused on my wife and my kids and this community and our businesses and creating value. I don't know, like, you know, when we talk about legacy, it's interesting. I just saw, like, Mike Tyson made this controversial statement. There was a 12-year-old girl who was asking about legacy. Yeah. And he said something along the lines of, like, we're so conceited to think that it matters after we're dead. We're dead. It doesn't matter. What do we care what people think of us after we're gone? I just want my kids to be good, you know, at the end of the day. So it's not like, you know, if anything, I would want people to think that I was you know, I was just like a reputable, honest guy at the end of the day. Not much more than that.
I love that, Cari.
I don't care if people think I'm successful. I don't care if people think I'm rich. Doesn't matter to me.
That's probably why you're successful.
I don't know. I don't know. I just don't care. And I don't think people should care. Especially, just to round things off, like, especially what I see in Miami with, you know.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of wild to me.
It's absolutely wild.
Yeah, but it's okay. It's whatever makes people happy. I just think it's short term.
Yeah. Thank you, Gary, so much.
Thanks, Cari.
Thank you.
This was great.
This was great. I'm so happy. Thank you. Thank you for joining me for this week's episode of Surviving Roots. I hope it gave you something meaningful to carry with you. Let's keep this conversation going. Find me on Instagram at cari.fund, where I'll share more from the show. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with someone who needs it. And remember, we are the choices that we make.